And now for something completely different.
Forget everything you've been told by others before. Get ready for the real deal, the full story. Real talk about money, markets, life. Now, it's The Real Investment Show, presented by RIA Advisors.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Financial Fitness Friday. I'm Rich Rosso, certified financial planner, here with Danny Ratliff, CFP Squared, who, if you see on the YouTube Live, he's looking very dapper today.
You mean I got dressed?
You got dressed up today. Well, what an exciting day in the markets yesterday. Big, big day. Today is also a big day because we have personal income. We have PCE coming out today. That's the Fed's preferred measure of inflation. Obviously, the indication is that it's not going to move very much. I think in February it came out at 4.6%. So I have a feeling that it is going to continue to remain stubborn. We're going to see another rate hike coming from the Fed, 25 basis points. But I think yesterday, Danny, with GDP coming down, I think there's this anticipation that, with the Fed's meeting coming up, that most likely they could pause. Although 2% now, it's going to be interesting to see what PCE looks like today. But at 2% to 4.6%, whatever measure they use, of course, there's still a lot of work to be done. And I understand there are a lot of rate hikes that still have not filtered through in the system, and they're finally starting to hit. You're starting to see the real drag on the economy. And so maybe it is one and done, at least one and done for now. We're going to have to wait and see. And then it's also a big day for earnings, right? We have Exxon, we have Chevron, Colgate, Palmolive. So we've got earnings season continues. Amazon came out last night with earnings. Seemed okay. Intel. So again, not really incredible move yesterday. Was amazing to see it. Just because of the fact that the economy, ironically, is slowing down. Used to be the markets would go up when the economy was going to do better. But it's total opposite.
Well,
Bad news is good news.
The news has not been as bad as what people have been expecting, right?
Correct.
And so now the Fed may have to take that more measured approach. But what does this look like? What does forward guidance truly look like? Which is really interesting because I think a lot of the guidance has been better than what we've probably been expecting in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So again, it's really, yesterday gives you a good idea, Danny, of how when people's sentiment when it comes to what you think the market is going to do and what it does. This is totally different. That is why, okay, even though we manage risk, your hindsight bias of I should have done this, I should have done that, will torture you through this period of time. That is why we always recommend, even though we risk and we manage around the edges, as I call it, right? We manage positions. If something is not working or something gets overvalued too much, we're going to sell if the fundamentals are not working. Technically, we take profits, we minimize losses, but we also will buy deep value. But the one thing we always say is if you're going to be all in or all out of this market, especially with the underlying current of the Fed's always going to bail us out. And frankly, the Feds do always bail us out. I hate to say it, but we've gotten to a point where the market is socialized. And no matter what, psychologically, banks are going to be bailed out. Anybody is going to be bailed out. And if I'm going to be bailed out, why get out? So logic and markets, especially in the short term, do not work. And they're going to wreak havoc on you. So you can't fully get out of the market and fully get into the market. If you're going to do that, Danny, I would say go into fixed indexed annuities where you have no downside risk and you can capture some upside risk of indexes. You have so many different choices within fixed indexed annuities now is it going to be a market that stagnates over time? Is it going to be a market that has momentum? There are so many ways to craft a portfolio. And then you don't worry about the downside risk and you get compounding. But if you're going to go in or all out of the market, I'm sorry, your overall long-term returns are not going to be very good. You might look great from year to year, but over the long term, you are not going to hit your financial goals.
Well, the issue is I think you have to follow some sort of discipline. You have to have some type of rules-based investing policy or philosophy that you're going to actually operate by. And unfortunately, when we see a lot of people that get all in or all out, it's based on emotion or trying to rationalize this scenario. And many times we have to remember, we've talked a lot about how a lot of the economic data that we're receiving right now is, one, it's in the rearview mirror. Two, it's likely to be revised at some point. And then three, the market already has a lot of that priced in. So we have to start looking forward, right? And so we talk about like Wayne Gretzky, skate to where the puck is going, not to where it is. And I think that's probably the more difficult part in this type of environment because it's very easy, like we talked about. If we're going into a major recession, this is the most well-forecasted recession that we've probably seen in the history of the economy and the markets.
Yes. One of the best books, Danny, I've ever read came out 2005.
Okay.
It's called Mean Markets and Lizard Brains by Terry Burnham. And it goes to this irrationality we have.
Yeah.
So to Danny's point, if you're going to use your gut, you're playing roulette. You're playing roulette and you possibly could win. But that's luck. Right?
How many stories do you hear of the people who won? They say, look, I timed this perfect. I got out of the market at just the perfect time, or I got back in.
Yeah.
It's usually getting out that you get lucky on, right? It's getting back in. That's the more difficult part because up until about 2 years ago, I think we were still getting calls weekly from somebody saying, I've been out. I think I need to get back in. I've just been missing out on a lot of returns. And now that sentiment has changed. So
listen, we have clients that will come to us and say, why don't you guys do this? Why don't you guys do that?
Yeah.
Why don't you all do this? And sometimes we say, you know what? We'll do it. If you want us to do it, we'll do it. And I will tell you, it is usually at the worst possible time. It makes sense if your gut cannot handle volatility, if you know yourself. But station your portfolio to fit into that model. You can ebb and flow that core base. So there are some people that will say, listen, I don't feel comfortable with more than like 20% in stocks. That's just how I roll. I don't care what the market does, whatever. Okay, well, I could take that 20 and we could still protect risk. We could still go down to 10%. We still can manage risk of that 20. Okay? But you know the fact that once you are you're going above these boundaries, you do not sleep at night. But then there are people that don't realize they don't sleep at night and think that they know better, and that's hindsight bias.
Well, and or don't understand the risks that they're taking by doing one thing or another. I think that's a bigger problem, right? Like, look at last year. So you could have been in a 2080 model, but yet your returns were still pretty abysmal just because the only place to hide was in cash.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, it is very tough. We are not wired for this stuff. We are not wired. So that's why, to Danny's point, having rules, even if you say, listen, we follow rules, even though I don't even understand why the market continues to go higher in the face of rising rates and then stubborn inflation, but the rules are the rules are the rules. Did I say other rules? Other rules. Okay? We get back. We're going to continue here on Financial Fitness Friday. Stay tuned.
Get daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Retirement's not what it used to be, and knowing how health insurance works after you leave your job is vital. Our next Lunch and Learn will tackle transitioning to Medicare, Thursday, May 11th, with Danny Ratliff and Richard Rosso. How will Medicare work with the insurance you already have? What are the deadlines you need to know for signing up for Medicare? Register now for our Transitioning to Medicare Lunch and Learn with Ratliff and Rosso at realinvestmentadvice.com. Realinvestmentadvice.com.
Hi, Lance Roberts here. If you're like most people, your 401k plan represents the bulk of your retirement assets, and unfortunately for many, managing your 401k plan can be difficult. There's so many choices, so many things to consider. With just a quick email, a couple of questions, you can put RIA advisors to work for you managing your 401k plan. Get started right now at the website, realinvestmentadvice.com, or simply call our toll-free number, 855-RIA-PLAN at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Small businesses are now being challenged by the lack of employees and how to attract and recruit the best employees. To get the better employee, you'll have to offer a better package. Hi, I'm Tom Allen, RIA Advisors Retirement Plan Consultant. Don't assume a 401k plan is too costly or complicated for your small business to offer. Let us show you how to make the most of an affordable and effective plan that will deliver true value for your business and your employees. Call me toll-free at 855-RIA-PLAN or online at realinvestmentadvice.com. That's realinvestmentadvice.com.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. Manage risk and volatility rather than trying to manage gains. You don't have to be right all the time. Long-term investing success is a 70% gain. Let us help you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
I'm just enjoying the music. Welcome back. So we are having our Lunch and Learn Transitioning to Medicare coming up on May 11th, and that's tough enough. And then when you get through that hurdle, you got to select a Medicare plan. And there are certain elements of certain things you need to be aware of when you do that. And I've had clients fall into this pitfall of not understanding, especially in the active years of their retirement, how their plan can be affected. So, for example, if I take a Medicare Advantage plan, if Jimmy J.J. Walker manages to convince me, dynamite plan that works, well, if I travel overseas or even if I travel to another state, that it's possible that that closed loop system that sometimes comes with Medicare Advantage may not cover everything in another state. Or a hospital might be covered, but a doctor might not be covered. So lifestyle dictates decisions, how you're going to travel. So for clients, I know clients who are going to travel, definitely travel overseas. So in a Medigap policy, Plan G, you've got to go through Medicare.gov and you've got to go ahead and find all the different letters of Medigap policies available. Medicare.gov actually does a really, really good job of going down and showing you what's available. And some policies are very good for international travel, emergency services. So, and again, Danny, we have clients that say, listen, I'm not going to travel. I'm so convinced I don't care about travel. I go local. This is my life. I never will travel overseas. Okay, well, then maybe the G is not going to be what you need. We have to find something else. So you got to remember your travel, your lifestyle decisions are going to also dictate what kind of plan that you're going to look at overall. So there's just more than that. You also have to believe it or not, there are a lot of advisors, Danny, that don't recommend Medigap because it's more expensive.
Yeah, they look at Medicare Advantage.
They look at Medicare. They look at Plan C, right? And that it's cheaper and still provides good service. So you, sir, are not a financial advisor. That's what I'm going to say. So my thought is if you are offering or recommending as a financial advisor Medicare Advantage because it's cheaper, you're not studying. You're absolutely not studying the services that are available to you. But there are times we will recommend Medicare Advantage because you do have to look at a client's costs, whether or not they can afford a Plan G and a Plan D. And sometimes Medicare Advantage is going to work for them. But if we are going to make a priority at RIA that if it fits into your budget, that we are looking at Medigap supplemental policy, which will most likely resemble the kind of coverage you had at work. Now, never say never, because Medicare Advantage is very lucrative. It's the fastest growing segment of that market. Danny and I study it. So if it does come to a point where Medicare Advantage does look better, we shall change our minds. But for now, we're not going to do that. And again, I have to shop my Medicare Advantage plan. If I want more cost certainty in my supplemental, I would look at a Medigap policy because it's probably not going to change much. Compared to my Medicare Advantage plan, that means I have to do one day, and I got to do my homework every year. I can't be sitting on the same plan every year. I have clients that do have Medicare Advantage, and I will tell you, they take their coffee and their donut, and they sit there during open enrollment, October through December, and they research their Medicare Advantage plan because something's changed, as well as their Part D, and everybody should do that.
Well, I think what they need, these plans, Medicare Advantage, Medigap, just original Medicare in general. One thing that you mentioned earlier, like mentioning somebody who only recommends Medicare Advantage. Look, we need to be very aware of the differences between them. And I think the big problem is that if you're only going to speak about one type of specific plan, you're not doing your client the justice they deserve. So you need to be able to understand what exactly is Medicare, what does it cover, and more importantly, what does it not? And then the importance of using a Medigap policy versus a Medicare Advantage.
Yep.
What are you giving up? So a lot of times you may have very little in premium if you go to Medicare Advantage, but what they cover is much, much different.
Correct.
And then understanding, the things that you may need to purchase a la carte if you get with original Medicare and a Medigap policy where you may need to go purchase vision, dental, all these different types of small nuances that I think a lot of times aren't considered. Oh, I know, actually, because we hear about it. But
a lot of clients don't want to go through that process, Danny. And this is where Medicare Advantage does work.
yeah,
I get a dental plan. For some reason, we don't think teeth are important in Medicare. So you got to do a separate dental and vision. But if you have a serious illness, and there's a specific treatment that is recommended, you may not be able to get it under Medicare Advantage. And then you can't switch. You can't go back from Medicare Advantage back to Medigap because there is a pre-existing condition clause. So you upfront your financial advisor, and hopefully someone that is really good, like a Medicare agent, can help you make the right decisions when it comes to understanding. We can guide you as planners. We can give you an idea of what you need to look for. But it's always good to talk to someone who is really good at navigating that system. Danny, I know that you work with somebody that does a really good job.
Yeah, we do work with some healthcare specialists. This is all they do, so I do enjoy kind of listening to them, understanding, and having a good understanding sitting across the table or on a phone line, knowing, okay, well, maybe let's think about this a little bit differently. But that's where you have to be cautious as well when you're going out to hire somebody to shop these types of policies for you. Are they captive? Are they independent? Who do they work with? Who do they work for? If all they have is a hammer, everything is a nail on everybody, right? So we want to make sure that we are understanding exactly who they work for. And when it comes to working with healthcare specialists, I want to work with somebody who's independent because I want them to be able to scour the earth for the best plan for my clients. I think that is really important to make sure that you understand exactly who you're working for and who they represent. Is it you? Is it the company? And that's a big difference. I think, one thing you mentioned earlier, talking about having somebody to talk with on a regular basis, at least annually, a lot of money's left on the table, unfortunately, where, what we find is that people get a plan, then they stop shopping. They never change it. But we also see by being financial planners that life changes. Things happen quickly. You think you may not travel now, and it may be because of COVID. Well, nobody was traveling, right? Or maybe it's because, you've done enough traveling. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients come to me and say, Danny, hey, we are not traveling like we once did. We're only going to travel the States. And then we talk and say, hey, what have you guys been up to? Oh, we just got back from a trip to Europe. Oh, okay. Well, you talked about, your health insurance plan. Let's talk a little bit more about that. Because what they don't realize sometimes is that now they weren't covered for specific types of events. So this needs to be something that you look at frequently. And sometimes it's been that, hey, kids moved overseas. I'm going to see them once or twice a year. Small things that we just fail to remember when it comes to what type of healthcare plan we're on, right? Because look, it's not something we're talking about every day. It's not something that you're thinking about often until you need it. So when there's those open enrollment periods, we highly recommend you shop your plan. And how much money's left on the table? Thousands of dollars.
Thousands of dollars, because people don't want to. At the least, if you have a Medigap policy, but you have, say, your Part D, your prescription drug plan, you have the ability to shop that every year. And it's very good for you to just review and make sure that you're getting the right, maybe say, hey, oh, gosh, now my prescription's available at my pharmacy I always go to at a lower cost. Oh, if I get it mailed to me, I save even more money. So don't be complacent. Also, you got to remember, transitioning to Medicare can also mean that you're retiring early. So you're going to retire before Medicare age. You're 62 years old and you are going to get this great pension, and I feel like I want to retire. Okay, but then I have to bridge over. I've got to find insurance until Medicare kicks in. And quite frankly, that could be a bit of a shock, and that has to be added to your plan. based on the marketplace, the Affordable Care Marketplace, is sort of an oxymoron because it could cost you quite a bit, and you're not gonna qualify for subsidies based on your retirement income. So you need to understand how you're going to put together a retirement plan. Are you going to go on your spouse's plan? That bridge to Medicare could be a bit shaky. And you have to plan that out and then add those expenses to your financial plan to make sure they're covered. Right, Danny? Because people think, well, they don't think about, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I won't have any medical coverage and I can't carry over. I don't have a retirement benefit with my company, healthcare benefit. I have to find insurance. Holy moly. What's the cost of that? I just helped someone look at that the other day for a family. He wants to retire sooner. $3,500 a month that we're going to have to look at for 3 years. And he decided that I think I'll wait.
What is that, $42,000 a year?
Mm-hmm. To cover the family.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. So, but how many people do we see delay and defer retirement because of that?
Oh,
all the time.
It's like over 90% plus.
Yeah.
All right, we get back. I want to talk about, are you making mistakes with your 401k plan? I'm working on a presentation right now. I want to share with you some of the ideas that we have when we get back. Stay tuned.
The Real Investment Advice blog. It's required reading for the informed investor. Catch it today at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Retirement's not what it used to be, and knowing how health insurance works after you leave your job is vital. Our next Lunch and Learn will tackle transitioning to Medicare. Thursday, May 11th, with Danny Ratliff and Richard Rosso. How will Medicare work with the insurance you already have? What are the deadlines you need to know for signing up for Medicare? Register now for our Transitioning to Medicare Lunch and Learn with Ratliff and Rosso at realinvestmentadvice.com. Realinvestmentadvice.com.
Health and financial security touches everyone within your organization. Offering benefits for all doesn't need to be complicated. Hi, I'm Tom Allen, Senior Benefits Consultant at RIA Advisors. RIA Benefits provides independent expertise to find solutions that speak to the mission of your business, the culture you want to establish, and the budget you are able to work within. Book a free consultation with me at realinvestmentadvice.com/retirement, and we'll find a solution that takes care of your most important asset, your people. realinvestmentadvice.com/retirement, realinvestmentadvice.com.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. A passive investment portfolio requires active risk management. It's not a choice, it's necessity. Diversification doesn't protect against risk of loss. Let us actively help you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Can't catch the whole show now? Listen to our podcast later at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You know, money changes everything. I'm just sitting here reading the headline. A changed Taliban says it's welcoming women's rights and now wants $10 billion from the U.S. You really can't make this kind of stuff up. I'm just saying. Wait, there's money if I'm good? Okay. Apparently my kids are now the Taliban. I'll be good if you give me money.
Until they get the money.
And then they turn back into the Taliban.
The Real Investment Show podcast. Same show.
That's my kids.
At realinvestmentadvice.com.
They've been terrorizing me for years. Anyway.
In 1999, a parafiduciary group of financial advisors were busted by corporate giants for trying to operate in their clients' best interest. These men promptly escaped from a high-cost margin environment to the Houston Energy Corridor. Today, still excoriated by their former employers, they survive as protectors of others' fortunes. If you have a problem about preserving capital, if no one else can help, and you can find them right here, maybe you should hire the RIA team.
Real Investment Show podcasts are now available from Stitcher Smart Radio at Stitcher.com.
Hi, Lance Roberts here. If you're like most people, your 401k plan represents the bulk of your retirement assets. And unfortunately for many, managing your 401k plan can be difficult. There's so many choices, so many things to consider. With just a quick email, a couple of questions, you can put RIA Advisors to work for you managing your 401k plan. It's a quick and easy application. Just simply click Ask a Question at realinvestmentadvice.com or give us a call at 855-RIA-PLAN. That's realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show YouTube channel has all our videos ready for your easy access. Now with the new and improved Before the Bell report, Candid Coffee, and Lunch and Learn replays, plus each day's radio show. Subscribe and bookmark our YouTube channel, or just click on the show links at realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
Oh, what would I do to change places with Edwin Castro? In case you don't know who Edwin Castro is, he's the guy that won the $2 billion Powerball in California, Danny. Driving around his Porsche, $250,000 antique white Porsche, bought 2 homes in the Hollywood Hills. Spotted coming out of Chase with a big fat envelope of cash on Wednesday with his newly hired bodyguard. Gosh! Yeah, you better, Edwin. You better. I'm like, first thing I think about is, he nets out $997 million. That's the largest lottery prize in U.S. history. And I think about it, and I go, what's the first thing you would do, Danny? What would you think I would do versus what Edwin probably did? Because Edwin looks like he just ran out there and bought a couple of houses. Like, I'm trying to figure out how fast his burn rate is going to be, Mr. Edwin, even though I know he put it into homes and he can sell those. But, the Porsche thing, okay, I get it. But I'm also wondering with the big fat envelope of cash, I don't know if he's really structured any kind of planning process for this money as a 30-year-old. Just trying to think about if we're going to be hearing about Edwin escapades in the future. And can I be involved?
Edwin, I mean, look,
I'm making
sure he's
a plea, Edwin.
Real fun guy, right? But
you mean like a mushroom?
Yeah, sure.
Fun guy?
Yeah. Look, number
That's
one,
a bad dad joke. Sorry.
You would never know if I won the lottery.
You would know it. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point.
Number one, go hire an attorney. Mm-hmm. You do not go in and claim that lottery ticket, that prize, please. You need to set up an advisory team immediately.
Immediately.
I mean, before you tell your wife, before you tell anyone. I'm serious. Like,
Michelle, you hear that?
No, I'm just saying in general, like, you need to go, because here's the problem.
I do, you get your point, though. Yeah.
Once everybody knows, you're screwed.
You are.
I mean, look, you're criticizing this guy for the purchases he's made. Why should anybody know what he's done? Why should anybody even know that guy's name?
That's what my point is. I think he wants everybody to know.
Yeah.
He's walking around outside with a big wad of cash and like he's showing it off. And that, to your point, the last thing you want to do, and there have been a lot of smart lottery winners who have done this, but I have a feeling we're going to be tracking Edwin's escapades when he buys the strip club and all kinds of the Bada Boom, the Binga Bang room, and all this other stuff. So you want to hire a team. You need tax, estate, financial advice. I mean, you need a team of experts before you spend. And in all fairness, maybe he has done this. My gut is telling me, based on what I'm seeing, is he hasn't. Does he have trust? Are those homes he's purchased in his name, or does he have them in a trust?
Or likely something even more sophisticated than a trust.
Well, I mean, but some sort of protective element, right? So to your point, before a single dollar is spent, you have got to have a structure in place.
Well, he's a walking target, let's face it, right? So we talk about estate planning, liability aspects, creditors, and even though he may not have any debt per se, he's got bigger issues because he's walking around with a wad of cash. Somebody goes and he gets in a car accident. He's not structured properly. Guess what? A lot of funds are out there that somebody could come after. So, I think the bigger aspect of this is that if he's done all those things, he's certainly not taking the advice of his advisors. There's no way there's going to be an attorney or an advisor for that matter, if I was working with Edwin and I saw him on the news or I
I'd be
knew the
calling him,
information,
wouldn't you?
you knew him like, oh, hang on, buddy, we need to take a couple steps back, like way, way back.
I agree with you.
We're gonna reset as much as you can, right? Because look, the cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows,
right.
and he's already starting habits. And what you find is once you start a habit similar to what he's doing, you go to the bank, you get, I'm assuming probably tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Probably not hundreds because banks mostly don't carry that much.
And why do you need a big wad of cash?
I don't know.
And
I was thinking that was the first thing that went through my mind, but then you mentioned what he's probably buying or doing with it.
That's what I think.
I mean, I
wouldn't be doing, like, in other words, just part of my mindset and maybe what we do is, look, he looks like he's starting off on a bad footing. And then he's got 3 guards who protect him, of course, because his pictures are in the newspaper.
Well, because you're going to the bank and walking out with wads of money. Yeah, you're doing this to yourself.
Wanted to see this for a second, but I think, it's like even in the picture coming out of the bank, you could tell he's got this big envelope of cash. I mean, he's not hiding anything.
Yeah.
What city is he in?
You said he's been buying houses in Beverly Hills.
Altadena, but he's buying homes in L.A., Hollywood Hills, $4 million mansion of the San Gabriel Mountains, $25.5 million Hollywood Hills estate, 13,000 square foot of living space for one person.
Hey, whatever. Good for him.
No,
he could do these things.
I think it's great. And listen, I'm not criticizing the fact that he won. I think that's great. I hate to see when people possibly are on the path to lose it.
Yeah.
That bothers me. Because of our financial stewards. Hey, if I got an idea. If he blows it all and blows his credit score, he can get a house at a discount.
That's right.
Yeah, he won't have to pay all the new fees.
Yeah.
Oh, man. No big down payments.
Oh, my goodness. Well, more power to you, Edwin. If you need a pal, Danny and I are here, and we are not going to ask you for a dime. We're going to help you protect the dimes you got. And you got a lot of dimes.
Yeah, I don't think we'd be friends.
I don't think he'd like us, because we'd be like, oh, those guys, those fuddy-duddies again.
Well,
Fuddy and Duddy are telling me that I shouldn't do this and all this structure and all. I'm got a big wad of cash and I'm going to the Humpty-Dumpty room. Leave me alone.
And that's the reason we could not be friends.
Right, but we would try to maybe protect him from not doing that. Not from a moral perspective, but from a, hey, listen, Amber over there doesn't love you.
Listen, at 30 years old, I mean, there's probably a lot of growing up to do. I'm assuming the dude's single.
That's a lot of money to have someone for so young. I mean,
I never even heard of the guy. That shows you how much I know about that.
Well, I'm just reading papers, and he comes up and he's walking out of the bank, and I thought that would be a good fodder to discuss. I wonder what our YouTube people would be doing with all that cash.
Well, that's pretty bad that I can type in Edwin the lottery winner and
it pop
boom.
How many Right. How many articles pop up? Yeah. Like you said,
way more
yours is really smart. You wouldn't even know I won. You wouldn't even know I won. I mean, I'll tell my spouse and my children, but I'm not going even into the immediate family with this information.
I'd still be back on Monday.
Me too.
Yeah.
You know how you know Brent would win? He'd come back with a big lush mane of hair. We're like, wait a minute.
And a new Miata.
A new Miata. No, he's not.
A new engine. The
Miata would have like a new air freshener.
I'd like a 52 Chevrolet pickup truck step side.
Yeah, all right, there you go.
With the modern ignition system.
Okay.
That's what I'd do.
Be in this house in the hill country.
No, I'd stay where I am.
You really? You stay where you are?
Yeah.
We'd have to talk to him on the others. He's the
You got to live a little, Brent.
You know what you are? Alter Edwin. We have to talk to you because we're thinking you're not spending enough. See, you can't have anybody in the middle here. You got to have people who are going crazy and people like, hey, dude, what are you doing? You got to live where you are.
I think you get pulled towards the middle a lot easier than what most people think.
I might be tempted to live on a cruise ship.
Oh, now that. Listen, I got a couple of clients that right now are going to take one of these 3-4 year cruises.
Yeah.
Like you pay up front, lump sum. and they're
the
just
world.
going to travel they're going to live on the cruise ship. Yeah, this is a thing. You can buy these long-term cruise ship kind of things, and
Yeah.
they're like, well, we were going to go to Europe, and it's going to cost this, but guess what we're going to do? We're going to spend 3 years on a cruise ship. And I'm saying, well, I hope they're going to need like a wheelbarrow to get you off at the end of the 3 years, because with all the food in your face, that's the one thing I worry about with cruises is that, I mean, all that food around me, and I can't go anywhere.
Well, you've got good self-discipline, Richard.
I do, but I don't know. Because everywhere you go, I hear there's food.
Yeah.
You know, it's a big thing, right? So,
But you've been there 3 days. I mean, you've seen it all. So then
You
can-
need to like have them journal their experience.
that would be a good book, wouldn't it? I thought of that it would be good for them to write every day how it was, what it was like, and I think they actually have a book in the making, because there are some retirees that are looking at that, and here's your firsthand account of how this works. And the client I'm thinking of is really good at scrapping and doing all this cool stuff. So I have one client that's really good, and I have another client who's thinking about this. I'm like, what is with this whole cruising thing? So you mean, yeah, okay. Well, listen, everybody's coming up with creative ideas to do things. So the one thing we were creative about is a 401k. And obviously everybody gets real creative with it. But there are some mistakes you can make with a 401k. And I think one of the mistakes that Danny and I always talk about is overfunding. And why we talk about overfunding, we're going to lose a segment here. We talked the whole segment about Edwin and Brent's new hair. All right, we get back. We'll go through some of these mistakes with you. Stay tuned.
Get daily investment news you can use, delivered at the speed of the internet at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Retirement's not what it used to be, and knowing how health insurance works after you leave your job is vital. Our next Lunch and Learn will tackle transitioning to Medicare, Thursday, May 11th, with Danny Ratliff and Richard Rosso. How will Medicare work with the insurance you already have? What are the deadlines you need to know for signing up for Medicare? Register now for our Transitioning to Medicare Lunch and Learn with Ratliff and Rosso at realinvestmentadvice.com. Realinvestmentadvice.com.
Hi, Lance Roberts here. If you're like most people, your 401k plan represents the bulk of your retirement assets, and unfortunately for many, managing your 401k plan can be difficult. There's so many choices, so many things to consider. With just a quick email, a couple of questions, you can put RIA advisors to work for you managing your 401k plan. Get started right now at the website, realinvestmentadvice.com, or simply call our toll-free number, 855-RIA-PLAN, or again, simply online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
Health and financial security touches everyone within your organization. Offering benefits for all doesn't need to be complicated. Hi, I'm Tom Allen, Senior Benefits Consultant at RIA Advisors. RIA Benefits provides independent expertise to find solutions that speak to the mission of your business, the culture you want to establish, and the budget you are able to work within. Book a free consultation with me at realinvestmentadvice.com/retirement, and we'll find a solution that takes care of your most important asset, your people. realinvestmentadvice.com/retirement, realinvestmentadvice.com.
And now, another page from the Real Investment Advisors Investing Manifesto. Bulls win in bull markets. Bears win in bear markets. Eagles soar above and take advantage of opportunity. Let us help you soar as you reach your financial goals with RIA Advisors. Neither bull nor bear. RIA Advisors, 281-501-1791 or online at realinvestmentadvice.com.
The Real Investment Show.
If I won the lottery, I would hire a dude to just walk around and poke Lance every day. Hey, how you doing? What's going on? Hey. I would hire one of the just 8 hours a day. Wherever he is, this dude would show up.
Wearing a jester hat.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We would get him in different costumes every day. And
Oh, for sure. Every single day.
every day.
And I would randomly place people around like where I know he would go.
Yeah. That would be a great idea. We would,
But like I would have a guy sitting in like a Halloween costume
Yeah.
who would just randomly like, oh, you're going to go work out today. And he'd see this guy like on the road driving down the street.
And wave to
then he'd
him.
see him sitting in the lobby somewhere just to harass him. Make him think he's going a little bit crazy, right?
And I would buy him a house across the street from Lance's house.
You'd have to
Hi,
buy a
neighbor.
house every 2 years because
Well, I know,
Lance
but
was
I would
around,
have
yeah.
the money. I would have Edwin's money. I know every 2 years I'm going to have to buy a new house. And this guy would be nomadic. He'd have to be moving every couple of years.
Is Lance in the WITSEC program? He's always moving.
He likes to move. I told him he should never take stuff out of boxes because it's. I've never seen anybody move so many times. Oh my gosh, that would drive me nuts.
Well, that's
Moving
why he wears the
experience.
same shirt every day.
The rest are all in boxes.
No, there's nothing else. There's no need.
We shouldn't be picking on
Just
Lance,
has
but I would
simple needs.
I would be hiring that
You
dude.
guys are harsh. What did he do to you?
We're not harsh.
Well, we have
It would just be a lot of fun.
We have a list. We just don't have time. What has he done to us? Hold on.
Look, somebody's got to give him a hard
Let me get
time.
my notebook. All right.
Thanks a lot.
401k.
Yeah.
You overfund it. In other words, you are told by the financial services industry that this 401k is the best, finest, incredible thing in the world. And you should put every dollar you make into it until you need the money to do something else. So don't you think, Danny, there's got to be a way that you fit your retirement plan savings account into a hierarchy of how you place your money?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think there's so many mistakes made with the 401k. Number one being that typically everything goes into that pre-tax option because we always think we're going to retire at this much lower tax bracket, which is, quite frankly, often not the case. But another thing I think that, especially for people that are super savers, is that sometimes they don't read the fine print and they put too much in too quickly and forego a lot of matching contributions. I'll give you guys an example. Had a client a couple months ago. We were looking at their plan, and the company would contribute something like $500 per paycheck, per contribution. So this is quite a bit of money.
Sure.
Added up, right? If you look at it, you get paid twice a month. You're looking at,
It's pretty good.
yeah, it's very good.
Uh-huh.
So we looked at it, and they were overfunding it because they said, hey, I want to max this out early, or I think the markets are cheaper. I want to go ahead and put as much in it as I can. I don't need a paycheck right now. I'll just go ahead and dump everything that I can into it. The problem with that is that they actually hurt themselves because now they didn't get nearly as much from a matching perspective as they generally would had they contributed all throughout the year. Now, that's not always the case, but it is something certainly that you need to look into, understand the fine print, and then understand what is that most efficient target for you to put in each and every single paycheck so that you get the most bang for your buck. 'Cause I'm
Yep.
sure you see that too, Rich.
Yep. So you have to prioritize and stop overfunding a 401k if you don't have other ducks in order. And you might be looking to take money from that account to buy a home, emergency account, series of emergencies you might have, whatever it is. Overfunding is a problem. Underfunding is also a problem, right? People that forego matches, they don't realize what they're leaving money on the table by not contributing to their plan. And of course, we do have an underfunding of retirement savings problem overall, especially in the face of higher inflation. There was a new study that shows that over 25% of individuals are just not They took the whole retirement savings thing out of the hierarchy because of inflation and just trying to keep managing their costs, right? And real wages are negative when you consider inflation. So underfunding is also an issue. And that's why you have to have a savings discipline and a strategy to figure out, I need to fund my retirement account. And at least, to your point, Danny, there are companies that match out there, and I have clients' children that don't consider funding. Even though I'm like, wait a minute, hey, you can afford to fund to get this match.
Well, I think that especially people are starting off, they think, you start to understand, you think, wow, I'm going to make this much money. But then once you see taxes going away or you see how expensive life is, that it is difficult.
Yeah.
But you got to do something. And you don't want to leave any money on the table from the perspective of a match.
Yep.
That's just silly. Now, I wouldn't advise everybody to just stick it in the pre-tax and don't think about anything else. Look, if you're younger, you have a significant advantage because now there's been studies, there's been a lot done that show, maybe we shouldn't have put everything pre-tax. Maybe we should have looked at this a little bit differently. So you have the advantage of that it being still in the accumulation phase and being able to say, okay, what type of investment vehicles do I have? Number one, we talked about health insurance. Do you have an HSA? Can you fund that? Max that out. Get the match on the 401k. Do you have the ability to put into a Roth? Because a Roth 401k does not have income limitations. That's another big thing we hear quite a bit, Rich, is that people come to us and say, oh, yeah, I can't put to the Roth 401k. I make too much money. Like, whoa, hang on.
You're messing up you're right.
Yeah.
You're confusing Roth IRA. And that you're bringing up my third point, Danny. You're in the right neighborhood, but the wrong house.
Yep.
You're doing the right things by saving in a 401k, but you're looking at pre-tax versus Roth, right? We direct, at least I do. I don't want to speak for Danny. If you're 20-something and you have a job and you have a 401k, they get advice from their firm and other advisors that they need to start saving pre-tax. And I go the opposite way. Roth 401k for you. And here is why. But that is totally different information than what, yes. Roth 401k. So you could be in the right neighborhood, but the very wrong house. Unless you think taxes are going lower. I'm sorry. That just made me laugh. Now, target date funds. This will be our last point. We'll continue these next week. Target date funds. Very popular, right? Target date 2030, 2035, 2020, whatever it is. But your target date fund may be way off target. Right, Danny?
Way off target. And we've talked about this ad nauseum in the past. And so if you've listened to the show for any length of time, you probably understand my disdain towards these types of investments.
He loves HSAs, but disdains target date funds.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You're probably going to be on my tombstone. But because look, it's a very good marketing tool, but unfortunately it doesn't do exactly what many people think it does. And so when you start to look underneath the hood and say, well, what's actually in this fund? How is it allocated? It's a 2020, meaning you should have retired 3 years ago. What is your stock bond ratio? Does it take into consideration market conditions? No, number one. How quickly? Because, the idea is that you have these target date funds that are going to get more conservative as you get closer to retirement. But what is that glide path? How quickly do they get more conservative? Is that the right thing for you?
You might be surprised.
Yeah, very surprised. And they're not all created equally. Some, you may have one at Vanguard that's different than the one at Fidelity, that's different than the one at Schwab, that, the list goes on and on. And so while you have experience with one and think you understand it, you may not understand the other one. So it's really important to make sure you really read the fine print on this as well, get a good understanding as far as how it works, why you would use it. I think a lot of people use these, Rich, because it's easy, right? It's a qualified deferred investment for many of these plans. So meaning that if you don't go pick anything, that's where your funds are generally going to go. It keeps the 401k plan administrators and trustees out of trouble. And it's an easy kind of set it and forget it type of investment. But may not always be the right thing.
The worst thing that they have in target date funds is a target date. Because people gravitate and say, oh, well, yeah, I'm going to retire in 2028. Therefore, I must go into the 2028 fund. No, that is not a maturity date.
Yeah, it's not going to be what you think it is.
But it's really misleading, right?
Very.
To have the date on there and the glide path underneath, the calculations can still show you at 50, 60% equities. Wait a minute. Shouldn't it be winding down at 2028? So you gotta look under the hood and understand the glide path, or find yourself a financial partner who will go through that with you. Ignore the target date in the target date fund.
The 2025 fund right now is sitting at about, this is just one, at 55% in stocks.
Okay.
The remainder in bonds, and a lot in international.
There you go. All right. Listen, guys, you all have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. Bye.